What's up guys, in today's video I'm going to teach you how to use collisions and overlaps to script gameplay logic using Unreal Engine 5's blueprint. Let's jump in. Alright, we'll start by creating a new blueprint. I'll right click in my content browser. Then we'll create a new blueprint asset of type actor. I'll call this BP_overlap trigger collision. I'll double click into this to edit. And we'll start by adding a series of components in the top left in our components panel. I'll click add, and I will add three things. First, I'll add a point light. I'm going to click back to my default scene root. I'll add a cube. One more time, then I'm going to click back to my default scene root. Otherwise, it's going to parent the next component to my cube or selected component. So I'm going to go default scene root, say add. To add a box collision. So in our viewport, we select here. You can see we've got a cube, a box collision, which is hidden, it's under the cube, and a point light. So let's edit first the cube. This is going to be the visual mesh that we see. That will be our platform. I'm going to change the scale in my transform panel over here to 3.25. I'll go to my box collision, which now we can see. I'm going to change this. I'm using the box extent, not the scale. The box extent right here under shape. We'll change this to 150, 150, 150. And then in the transform right here, I'm going to change this to 150 in Z, which is going to move it up vertically. My point light, I'm going to drag up. I guess we'll just do 300 like that. And I'm going to change the intensity units to lumens. I'm just going to change the intensity value to 25. This might be different depending on the lighting qualities of your environment. For mine, I'm going to use this standard. This will be our on value. So if we bring this into our level, we can see what it looks like. It is just a cube with a light. But if you want to see it now, to sort of test your lighting intensity, this is a great time to do that. But now let's continue and add some functionality to our blueprint. All right, so I'm going to go back into my blueprint and I'm going to click over into the event graph. If you're looking at this, this is called our viewport. And I'm going to go to our event graph, which is where we're going to script our gameplay logic. You can select these two and delete them. We won't need them for what we're doing. Compile and save. So what we're going to do in the very beginning when the game starts is we're going to turn off our light. And when we overlap the trigger volume, we're going to turn it back on. And when we exit the trigger volume, we're going to turn it off. I'm going to grab my point light here by dragging it out from the components panel onto our graph. I'll pull off of it and I'll say set intensity. I'm going to drag from event begin play into set intensity. And our starting intensity is going to be 0. If we want, we can turn this into a variable so that we have better control of it. But I'll say starting intensity. Compile so that our value pops up over here, and we'll keep this as 0. Now we need to grab our box component, so I'm going to select our box. I'm going to right click, and I'll say add event. And I'm going to go down to add on component begin overlap. This is also available all the way down here, but I prefer to do it here. So add on component begin overlap, and we'll right click one more time and say add component on component end overlap. So this is what's going to happen when the trigger volume registers an overlapping actor, like a player, and this is when it exits. So what we're going to do is we're going to drag off here where it says other actor, and we'll say cast to character. And this cast is going to test, are you a character? I had some other videos that highlight the topic of casting, but for now we'll just say cast to character. And so if this succeeds, it is a character. If not, it's not a character. So we're only going to test for our character. And we're going to grab this set intensity and our point light. So we can select this, copy, we'll paste down here. And I'm going to drag off here and say promote to variable. And we'll say this is our active intensity. And this is just so we have a little better control of it in case we want to change it later or this becomes used in other places. I'm going to go over here and I'll say 25. Compile, save. And I'm going to copy this right here. I'm going to Control C, going to Control V it down here, just copy paste, and I'm going to copy my cast. I'm going to paste it right here. I'm going to drag this execution pen in here, and I'm going to drag other actor, which is what's overlapping with the box collision, to my cast to say, are you a character? And if so, we're going to drag that in there. And this is how we will do our on-off logic. We want to go onto our box first before we test, and we want to search in here, generate overlap events. This Boolean, this must be set to true, or else nothing will happen when we overlap. So we need this generate overlap to be true on the box collision so that it registers the collision. So I'll compile and I'll save, and we'll first test this with 1. So I'll right click and I'll say play from here. We notice that our light is turned off, and when we step onto the panel, we're going to register with the box collision, and it'll turn the light on. So I'm going to use a console command by pressing tilde on my keyboard, that's the little squiggly thing above tab, and I will say show collision. This is a useful console command that we can use to see the collision volume. So that is the box that we created, and when we overlap that, that is what's registering the logic. So we'll go back here, and if we just recap, on begin play, I'm setting the intensity to 0, so I'm effectively turning it off. When we overlap, we're testing to see, is the overlapping actor a character? In the event that it is, we're going to set the intensity to the active intensity, which is a float variable value that we set here. And then when we end overlap, we're testing again, is it a character? And if it is, we're going to set the intensity to our starting intensity, which we've set as 0. That is all for today's video. Hope you learned a little bit in this video about collisions. Thanks all.